Welcome back, everybody. I'm your host, Alex Vargas, and you are now listening to the Visitor Parking Podcast, episode 46. I've gone viral. Oh, God, I hate that intro. Let's start that over. My last stroke just went viral. Oh, baby, we are viral again. We are the number one most trending account on TikTok this week with Alex Earl. Not to be confused with Alex Cooper, call her daddy. This is a girl I actually knew nothing about until I started watching Dancing with the Stars. I'm going to put this out there one time. Alex Vargas on Dancing with the Stars. 5 years from now, when my TikTok is blown up and my personality is all over the place, my name is in the lights. You can't get enough of me. You're getting sick of me. I mean, that's really where this podcast is headed. And who knew? I wanted to thank someone really special. She was somebody I came into contact with. I can't get too specific for legal reasons, but she was Gen Z. And this person came into my life because I really wanted to get big into social media. And I was like, I have a social media presence. I'm a personality. I consider myself to be pretty funny. And so I guess what ended up happening was came into contact with this girl, wanted her to do social media for me because I saw that she had a really good social media. Okay, I gotta take a breath. Wow, I'm out of shape. This person who I'm talking about, a Gen Z, or Gen Z, as you know, there are few words. They were the ultimate texting generation, social media, TikTok. They're actually pretty smart, but they connect through pictures and social media. You have to kind of like show them, it's very like telephone. You have to give them images and they process like a quantum computer. So their verbal skills, they're like nonverbal. Gen Z has become like really nonverbal. Like they'll give you one or two words and that like means like a lot to them. So in a way, I appreciate that generation. Less is more, and it means more to them. So you can hurt their feelings with less words. With Gen Z, I was able to learn a very important lesson that if this person who cannot communicate, they can hardly speak English into your face. I'm like, if this motherfucker can do social media, if this person can do social media, I could do social media. Me give you something that I learned from Gen Z. They do caveman speech. Me name Alex. Me like social media. Me enjoy social media because social media lets Alex be Alex. Me start to enjoy Alex. Me start to enjoy learning about Alex when Alex speaks. Me find social media funny. Me find other people like Alex that enjoy laughing and story and working, and it relates to you. And it really is the future. It's called interest media. And me find out that if Gen Z can do it and Gen Z talk like caveman, then me, Alex, can also do social media. So I got into it, baby. I gave up everything. Every amount of focus I had was doing social media on the side because I was like, I could do this. And just for anybody who might be interested in doing social media or just putting your brand out there, I want to say that there's so many avenues. There's so much interest that you could follow. If you think, like, I think for my dad specifically, he is somebody who's lived such an interesting life. He's, president of a company. He flies airplanes. He, did karate. He's got so many weird little skills that he's learned, with the Marine Corps that he went out for. So many interests that if he were to do TikTok, he could probably in a year or two, he would have hundreds of thousands, if not millions of followers, just because his life is so unique. My dad is somebody who knows how to fly an airplane. He tried out for the Marine Corps. He made it all the way up to boot camp, which I think he kind of talked about in my last podcast. He went to college for a long time. He jumped around. He followed a girl to Alabama. There's a lot, like, my dad's life is so interesting, and his hobbies or what is interesting now and why he has them. And if he could just learn to put himself out on social media, for example, talk about day one of me flying a plane, day two of me learning how to fly a plane, day three of me learning how to fly a plane, and you mix in the personal stories. And I know what you guys are thinking, Alex, not everybody wants to do social media. You know, I don't like whatever, but this is the future. We just went viral. I now have 6 videos on my TikTok that have over 1 million views, hundreds of thousands of comments, 300,000 likes. And here's the thing where you start to measure up to people who laughed at you. People who had social media like that are younger than you or older than you. I go and look at their followers now and I'm like kind of rating myself against them. I now have 2,000 followers and I go to somebody else's page, maybe they have 300 or 400. I start to categorize them. Okay, they're just a lifestyle person. They're not, they just watch. Then I see people like middle of the game people. You can be a nobody on TikTok with 5 million followers. It's kind of crazy how there is so much media out there right now. And I talk about this again and again and again, but like, it's just crazy to me how much we consume in a day. These short stories, 10-second clips, 7-second clips, 1 minute long videos, FaceTimes. We're always trying to find these connections, these common interests. And I've said this before on social media. You will get tricked into thinking that your most interesting videos that everybody has seen. That's not true. Your TikTok is so catered towards you and what you go after and what you like. Yeah, you may like some mainstream stuff, so you'll all kind of go in that mainstream highway, but there are so many little niches. There's, if you like cooking, take it a step further. You like cooking with this cutting board or this, you like doing these type of recipes. You like making bread, with yeast and activating it. There are so many different ways that you can find a niche in social media. But anyway, just where I've gone with it is I think I wasn't getting a lot of followers on my post because I was figuring out how to get views first. I was like, all right, I'm going to go viral. Then they're going to pay me. Nobody paid me. Going viral meant nothing because I would get these 2 million videos where they'd view it, but then they look at my page and my page is 1,000 different random things. I don't have a niche. So then they come to me now and they see my bio is like hot takes, receipts. I don't know. I don't even know what it says. ChatGPT ended up making it up for me, but based on stuff I told it, basically I just do these hot take videos where most of my life I'm just watching TV, but like I watch shows and pop culture and news. So if you just get on there and do a 1 minute hot take of what you think about that news or what you think about what's going on in that. Yeah. So when I started social media, I started just doing anything that would get a view. I was a whore for views. I would squish jellyfish. I would, I would squish jellyfish. I would take my shirt off. I would sing songs. I would do skits. I would basically use every tool in my personality arsenal to try and get people to look at me, because in social media, the currency is not to be liked. It is attention. I am just trying to get your attention. And I've been naturally good at that my whole life, trying to get people's attention negatively, positively, whatever. I'm an attention seeker. I've always been kind of an entertainer in a way. I like to make people laugh. I like to get people looking at me it's never bothered me. I've kind of gravitated towards it. I don't mind being famous. I don't mind being the center of attention until I am. And then I'm like, I'm almost too cool for it. I'm like, please, this is really annoying. But no, on social media, I had to practice a lot of trying to get people's attention. And now I'm kind of figuring out where my niche is. I was watching this Eddie Murphy documentary. If you guys haven't seen it, it made me so anxious. It's about Eddie Murphy. Everybody knows him as that, one of the top black comedians, and you learned a lot of interesting stuff about him. I didn't realize how famous he was, how many movies he was in that were kind of revolutionary. And then they kind of went on to say how he never won an Oscar. That sucked, man. And I get it, because I think that's a lot kind of like with Beyonce and the Grammys, or sometimes I think she was getting snubbed on some of those Grammy awards in the beginning. I think a lot was happening with Eddie Murphy where, because he was black or spoke out against it, they snubbed him at the Grammys or not the Grammys, but they snubbed Eddie Murphy at the Oscars. But basically, his whole story was he was an entertainer his whole life, and from a young age, he'd wanted to entertain people, whether it be dancing, joking, singing, acting. And I kind of saw that, and I was like, damn. I'm like, that's what I want to be doing. That's who I am. And all of these things, working. Nobody sees how hard you work trying to do something that you love, and you have to fight for it a bit. Like, people think I'm crazy for wanting to do social media when I'm a successful business person, and I can run it. I can make sales. I can run a company. I can do whatever I put my mind to. But they're like, why do you want social media? Even my dad today, I'd called him and I'm like, Dad, I'm almost at 2,000 followers. I'm going viral. Like, I just had 3 different videos hit 1 million. And when I punch that into the database, like talking to ChatGPT, they're like, you don't know how rare what you're doing is at this pace. Most followers under 5,000, most accounts with under 5,000 followers gain 3 to 5 followers per day. You're gaining hundreds per day. You have one of the highest trafficked accounts on there. You're in the top 1%, which means my traffic, I make videos that are the highest traffic from searches. Most people's For You pages are mostly, they're not high traffic zones. I don't even know what that means, really. I guess I don't want to get into it too much because I just don't fully understand it yet. It basically was just saying how you're in the top 1%. It's pretty unusual to get in these big time highways with such a small following that I have. So it shows that my videos are consistent. I'm able to get on this huge pulse, even though I don't have a following, and get millions of people to see it. So this is the first time I felt worthy of this stage. And you know what my dad said to me? Alex, focus on your real job. And I'm like, dude, I wasn't saying like, oh, I quit my job today. I was just saying, hey, last night when I was off work, I posted these videos and like, they're getting millions, and I was just like, damn. I'm like, there you go again, Alex. You're seeking validation on something you already love and that you're good at now. And I think it didn't really do anything for me that he was shitting on it, because he circled back. He called himself and was like, he's like, hey, I'm really proud of you. Great job. I'm like, thanks for recognizing that, dude, because it really is hard work. It took me a year to figure out what I was doing in social media. And I went into social media with such cocky swag. I'm the best at this. I can do this in 2 seconds. I'm not going to fail. I told myself that in the beginning because that's how I go into a lot of things. I'm super competitive, and I'm like, even if I know I suck at it, I'm not going to go into it saying I suck at it. The only thing I've ever really sucked at is basketball. That's one where, I try. I try really hard. And that's just might just be my little alligator arms and long torso, short legs. But basketball is not for me, man. But social media, personality, being a radio host, it's sales. Same thing I do, but it's more entertainment based than selling. And so I just love it. So even though people aren't always going to give you the recognition, and Dad, I love you. You're my number one fan for the podcast. I'm not saying this in a negative. I'm saying this as an example that even the people closest to you will not support your dreams and goals in the way that you need to support your dreams and goals. Like, it's not their job to tell you, keep going, you got this. Like, that's great if they do, but it's your family's job to be practical with you and say, look, you buckle down, focus on this, and don't do that. Like, when Eddie Murphy told his parents that, hey, I want to be a comedian, I want to be an actor, she's like, oh boy, Eddie, please. She's like, I think the one thing I remember from that documentary was his mom going, can the real Eddie please talk to me? Because he would always do these skits and bits and personalities. And turns out he was super ADHD too and had a lot of OCD. And I remember I have so much ADHD mixed with kind of that OCD where when I'm playing with my toys, I got to line them up just so. I got to win the battle on this video game in a certain way, or I don't like it. It needs to be some cinematic need to it. But yeah, you have to work hard at anything you do in life, and social media was no different. But man, does it feel good to get this recognition, because I took a year of just beatings in terms of I would do all these videos, I'd try to make them so great, I think they look just like the other great videos I'm seeing, but I didn't know how to do the hashtags. So I didn't know how to filter them into certain categories, or I didn't know how to, I didn't know how to get the lighting right, or I didn't know that music could go on it, or that you had to turn the music down and your voice up. So there was so much trial and error, and so many times where I've almost given up, and I just choose not to. And I think it's my passion and love for it outweighs the work of it just by enough where I'm like, this is great. I want to do this. The thrill and love I have for media and creating things, I'm like an inventor in that way. It's how it feels. So if you feel that way about anything, just take one step and go after it. And I know not everybody's like that. Like, I think there's a lot of risk involved and sacrifice that you might have to do. And I haven't nearly reached my goals, but today, since I started posting 8 times a day and I watch these videos get 4,000, 5,000, boom, a month later. I don't even know if it's a month later, because once I got back from Nemacolin, we went out there with my wife for an anniversary trip, and that was the beginning of November. I said, I'm going to start posting 8 times a day, because I watched this Russian guy, and he's like, yeah, it's like, you post 8 times. He goes, post every day. He's like, why do you think posting 3 times going to do anything? He's like, post about, you don't know what to post about? Post about not knowing what to post about. You say day 1 of not knowing what to post about, day 2 of not knowing what to post about. And that was a lot like the beginning of my sales journey too, because it was like, I didn't know what to do when I got on that phone call. I didn't know what I was selling. I didn't know what, I knew that I was working at, the staffing agency, and we sold services of some kind, but I knew if I made enough of these calls, somebody's going to get lucky and like my personality and latch on to me. And that's what's happening in social media. They're liking my personality. They're liking the content lane that I'm going in, and they're latching on, and it costs them nothing except they have to have interest enough to get there. So that's my social media rant. If we are going to transition here to, we are so loving. We love it. We're doing great Dancing with the Stars. My wife got me on this show. I thought this show was the gayest thing in the world. I'm like, who would want to watch Dancing with the Stars? Not me. Not this guy. I'm straight as an arrow. But no, I mean, this show is awesome. I think maybe it's because all the people on this year's show were like influencers, social media. There was probably one person who was in sports who did it, but I kind of, Alex Earl was in it. She's some girl I've come to like a lot, and Whitney from Mormon Wives, Jen Affleck from Mormon Wives, another show that we got hooked on, and so yeah, we'll get to that. But Dylan Efron, Zac Efron's brother, is in it. Billy Irwin, who is the Steve Irwin's son. There were so many, and there's so much history. I guess the show's been on for like 15 or 20 years, so there's like a ton of history behind Dancing with the Stars. And it was, it's become our little Tuesday night tradition. And afterwards, I make a little TikTok about it and whatever. So last night we're watching, like we do every Tuesday. I don't think I even drank last night. We had no wine. I haven't smoked weed in like 2 weeks now. I'm clear as a daisy most of the time. So it's real nice. And we're watching Dancing with the Stars, and I see this beautiful Alex Earl, who, besides my wife, this girl's very beautiful. And she's probably like a new species of human is how she looks. Like the way her facial structure is, the way her body looks, like it does kind of look like an evolutionized human in a way. I don't know how to describe it. If you ever seen the movie Species with like, they're like alien fembots, that's kind of who she reminds me of in a way. Dad, I know you get that reference. Mom too. But, I think Dancing with the Stars came on, and Alex Earl's there dancing with Val Chemikovsky or whatever his name is. And he's this like, all the girls love him, hot dancer, looks like Jon Snow in a way. And every week I've noticed their chemistry a bit building. But this week I saw a clip of them where he touched her hand. Val touched Alex Earl's hand like this. And I swear, I've not proudly had, affairs or, I've, could have cut this for a second. Where are we? 24. Speaking from somebody who's got experience in making a bad choice, doing the wrong thing, being in a relationship you didn't know you wanted to be in, and realizing there wasn't a way out. I've had an affair before. I've cheated. I've done the wrong thing and tore me up inside. And I'm not happy I did it. Not proud of it, but I am in a way. I know what it's like on the other side. I know what the shame that it carries. I know how selfish it is to cheat and drag the other person through that when it's like you didn't need to cheat to get out of the relationship. Also, I can see how they start. I see the little hand touches or, it only takes a minute for someone to cheat. I watched Alex Earl and Val Chmerkovskiy. You cannot tell me that they are not having an affair. They are in the midst of a full-blown affair. The way she looks at him and the way he looks at her, but he smiles just enough so not to draw camera attention. And she's over there like, she looks at him the way Stevie Nicks looked at, what's the guy from Fleetwood Mac? What's the guy's name from Fleetwood Mac? They look just like that 1970 concert where they're singing Fleetwood Mac and Silver Spring. Did you guys know, by the way, that Silver Spring was who? Hold on one second. I'm asking chat to see who it was. Fleetwood, Mick Fleetwood. Okay, we knew that. No. Stevie Nicks loved who? He had a British name. Okay, Stevie Nicks. Going back to this, Stevie Nicks was in love with Lindsey Buckingham. I couldn't remember because he had a girl's name, British, but Lindsey Buckingham back in the day and Stevie Nicks, he was a hotshot artist. She joined the band. They, whatever, fell in love, and they kept it together for years doing this. And she wrote Silver Spring about them, and they were driving past Maryland, and she's like, wow, what a lovely name for a town, Silver Spring. Like, you could be my Silver Springs. I could be your something, something. Yeah, so that is who Alex Earl and Val remind me of. They remind me of Stevie Nicks a bit. I watched their connection. Val's wife is there cheering them on the whole time. I'm a man. I'm sorry. I do not. This goes back all the way to when Harry met Sally. Men and women cannot be friends. Nope. I would, if Katie had a male friend who was straight as an arrow and attractive, best believe I'd believe they did something at one point. My trust is very high with everybody. With Katie, I trust her, trust myself. But at the same time, if you're going to a dance studio with this girl who's known for being one of the most beautiful girls on all of social media, and there's quite a lot of people on social media. Oh my God, is my battery about to die? What the fuck? Yeah, I don't know if I could trust anybody to dance with Alex Earl and not get hemmed up at some point. I've heard rumors that Val has cheated on his wife before, and it just wouldn't surprise me. It does suck if it is true. I don't want it to be true, but I made these videos about it. But the way they look at each other, the way that Alex Earl looks at Val, that's the way we all want to be looked at. The way she sees him, the way she was crying because this might be over. She's not crying because she's going to have to stop dancing. She's crying because she's going to have to stop dancing with Val every night. Oh, she loves him. She's in love with Val. I'm in love with them. So I made 2 videos about it. Popped off, absolutely popped off. There was a little kiss they shared. You can't tell me it wasn't a kiss. I saw the kiss. You saw the kiss. It reminded me of the dress situation where everybody saw one blue dress, one gold dress. Same freaking deal. Oh, man. Well, that happened, so there might be a little bit of an affair there. I can't even imagine the next morning he's probably waking up His wife's looking at him like, you was saying her name in your sleep. Who's Alex? She knows who Alex Earl is. And, that's a rough one. You spend hours dancing. You spend hours a day dancing up on somebody's crotch. The way they have to hold their thighs in between each other's thighs. I'm sorry, but there's dancing. I want to hear from you. If you have been a dancer, how often do they have affairs with their dancing partners? Because that is something that it is a very sexual thing. I went to a yoga class the other night because I'm like, look, my golf game, I love golf and I want to get a little bit better at it. So I went to a yoga class. I said, okay, I'm going to sign up for this yoga class tonight. I'm like, Katie, I'm going to yoga. She's like, what? I'm like, yeah, I'm going to yoga. Do you mind? She's like, yeah, I guess. Go to your yoga class. Yeah, she probably gets so weirded out by who I am. But yeah, I've learned to accept it after a while. I go to the yoga class. It's called Root Yoga. It's low heat. So I'm like, all right, we could do this. It's not that bad. It's like an entry to yoga thing. So I go to the yoga class. I show up there. There's this bigger lady. And I'm like, okay, if there's a big lady here, she's all huffing and puffing. Hey, how are you? And I'm like, hey, how are you? I'm here for the yoga class. She's like, oh, you are? You new here? I'm like, yeah, you betcha, I'm new. And she's like, oh, this is a great class. This is a great, easy class for beginners. I'm like, okay, cool. All day, I've just been worried about farting. I'm like, I don't want to go to this yoga class and fart. I remember I had to do karate with my dad growing up, and everybody would just fart because it's after work. It's 2 hours in a hot room. Everyone's just tooting up a storm. I remember Doug smelled like freaking hot dogs. He was always tooting. But we're there, and I go to the yoga class, and it was actually fine. The temperature was not that bad. It was like 85 degrees. They gave me a blanket. Everybody was whispering and saying, namaste, namaste. Grab your blanket and get over there. Yoga was the most relaxing experience of my life. They let me take a nap after work. I felt like I was in preschool again. I'm working yoga in once a week to get my flexibility because I am lifting a lot because I want to look sexy and feel, hard as iron for my wife. And, I want to be able to beat anybody up if it comes to it. Also, my golf game, I need to stay flexible. So I'm going to mix in the yoga and I'm like, I just can't lift that much. So I'm going to mix in yoga once a week. Highly recommend. But yeah, the yoga class was good. Only awkward part is I kept making eye contact with this girl next to me because I would have to, they're like, roll over and face the wall. Turn your head. I'd turn my head. She'd be turning her head. We'd make eye contact. I'd like close my eyes, pretend to be asleep. At the end of the yoga, they let you take a 10-minute nap. It's like a guided nap. They're like, close. Yeah. Dude, I know what time it is. Yeah, that's what time I was going to leave. Okay. All right, can I have 2 minutes? All right, you guys heard my wife. Do you think you can? This is how I get spoken to on a regular basis. She loves me. If I spoke to her like that, she wouldn't talk to me for like the rest of the night. But it's a double standard in marriage. That's why we like it. But anyway, I guess we'll pick this up later. I don't really know, but I have to go for now. Don't remember what I was talking about, but we'll wrap it up. And we're back, everybody. I'm so sorry about that. We were actually cut off by my beautiful wife, who is also my boss at home and forever. Yeah. So I had to go get my daughter actually from daycare. It was awesome. She loved to see me. But yeah, the yoga class was nice. We'll be working that in. Last story time I think we'll end with is I, for the longest time, did not think I had grandparents. I was like, all my grandparents are pretty much dead. I don't have anybody else. But there was this sweet man that I grew up with my entire life on Selena's side, my stepmom. And so Grandpa and I, we've kind of reconnected. I didn't really have much of a relationship with him, but to be honest, he was always there looking back. He went to all my football games, or a couple of them at least, the important ones. He would show up and, he would always catch up with me on football. And, he reminds me a lot of my stepdad in a way where he's real intentional when he talks to you. And it feels like he's really listening, and he's probably one of the coolest dudes I've met, to be honest with you. And I'm real proud to have him in my family. And he's kind of been in my extended family with, being on my stepmom's side. Her family's really big, so it's hard to connect with all of them when they're so far away. But he lives right up the road. So I've been getting into golf, and he's retired. So he's kind of an easy buddy to hit up. And I'm like, hey, it's Friday afternoon. You want to go golfing? He's like, always down. Let's go play some golf. And so I've been going with him probably once a month now, if not twice a month, if we can get it. And I had the best time. We started this over summer, and it's just kind of, the relationship has just kind of blossomed from there. And just I've been having a good time with my grandpa playing golf. So that's we're going this Sunday. I'm super excited for that. I actually got all the dads going. Wayne, my dad, and grandpa. So last time we were all together was Father's Day. So we're going to do this before Thanksgiving. And then Thanksgiving, we got a big rush. We're going to see, we haven't seen my wife's family in a long time. So we're going to go over there, see my dad's family before, and then hopefully get to spend some time with some family throughout the week. But I'm one of those people who's lucky enough to live around family. So I do tend to get to see my mom a lot, see my dad a lot. And, you know, I'm fortunate in that way. And I'm just excited for the holidays. This year has just taught me so much about reconnecting with family, reconnecting with, you know, my grandpa, who I, you know, had never really had much of a relationship with outside of Sundays growing up. You know, now we play golf all the time together, and he's actually really cool, you know, and we get competitive, and it's just things seem to be working out for the better. And I've been sober off that weed for a little while, man, and it's been life changing. So if anybody else out there is struggling with some sacrifice, you know, I'd say try to focus more on the things that look at the stuff you gain from the sacrifice, as opposed to looking at the stuff that you lose. And I've always been a big proponent of, I don't want to lose anything. I don't want to sacrifice nothing. And that was causing me a lot of tension. But this has kind of changed my life in a way. So I appreciate it. It's opening my eyes to family I haven't been able to connect with in a while. And also, you know, realizing, you know, I've got my mom right down the road, my dad right up the street. Like, you know, there's no reason we shouldn't be seeing each other more often. And, you know, it's been nice. It's been really nice. So life update, other than going viral on TikTok today and this week, I got nothing, guys, but we'll be back with some more pop culture stuff, and, you know, keep the episodes flowing. I am looking for some new guests out there, but yeah, I think that's pretty much all we got for this week. Unless you got anything else, production, we got anything? No, just social media. Social media's been the topic again. So hopefully that was good enough for you guys. Anyway, I love you. God bless America. God bless our troops. Good night.